What's up guys, Reese here from reese3d.com. This is our first lecture in learning graphic design with Photoshop. So without any further ado, let's jump into Photoshop. Once you open up your computer, go to Start menu and type in Photoshop. So while you type halfway, it should show up there. So I have Photoshop 2020 here, so let me click on that. So that opens up Photoshop software. Let's give it a couple of seconds to open up. So that's our Photoshop user interface. So let's go through one by one. So right in the top, we have our menu bar, which basically has the different types of menu items. So if you want to create a new document, you can simply go to File and choose New, or if you want to open existing document, you can choose Open, and so on and so forth. Next to the menu bar, we have our Options bar. Now, Options bar is a context-sensitive area, which means that the contents of the Options bar will change depending on which tool you have selected. This can also be called as Properties bar because it actually shows the properties of the currently selected tools. In the left side, we have our toolbox, and you can notice that when I change to different tools, you will see that the contents of the Options bar actually change. Now in the toolbox, we have all kinds of tools that we will be using for creating or manipulating our images or document. Now you can actually have the toolbar as a single column layout, or you can also change it as a double column layout. Now depending on the amount of space that you have in your screen, you can choose to have a single column or a two column layout. To change from a single column to a two column layout, you can actually go up here to this double triangle and click that. Now you can see that it's neatly arranged in the top half of that area. So if you have a smaller screen, then it will be perfect for you to see all the tools at once. If you want to go back to the same old single column layout, you can simply click on that double triangle once again. Now the toolbar doesn't have to be in this place, okay? You can change it to any other place that you like. Just click here in this few lines that you see, and you can bring it out. And you can also bring it and put it in a different place. There you go. Let me just bring it back to its original place. That is much easier for us to work with. Okay, now apart from this toolbox, we also have a lot of other windows here. Now, these all can be closed and opened based on our requirements. If you think that they are annoying, you can actually shrink them to a smaller size just by clicking on these double triangles. You can also stretch them a bit to see their labels. Good. Now you can see that these are looking like icons, right? But if I click on that, they actually expand to show the entire window. Now let's say, for example, accidentally I went here and closed the history. I can always bring it back by going to the window menu, and there you should find history. You can actually dock it back into that same place. So now there we have it. And you will also notice that there are other windows which can also be brought out. You can resize them and keep them to the size that you want. You can also dock them separately like so. You can resize them, adjust them. You can actually make it like so. You can also further push it to make it look like an icon. Now, this is a default layout that Photoshop gives for us. We can always modify it to our liking, and we can also save these layouts. They're called workspaces, and you can access them by going to Window and choosing Workspace. By default, we have the essentials. You can actually change this to other workspaces that already Photoshop has created for us, or you can create your own workspace also. So if I go back to essentials and I want to reset that to the way it was originally, I can click on reset essentials. And this is the default layout that Photoshop has given us. So in my practice, what I do is I generally keep the layers, and I can basically hide all these other guys. I close all of them and push it up here so that I can also use the colors, swatches, and gradients and other stuff. So mostly I'll be using a layer, so I'll keep the layers to be as big as possible. Then I'll have these other stuff. I can also use history at some point of time, but mostly history is not going to be useful. So what I'll do is I'll actually bring these guys out and I can close them. So this is my preferred layout. So what I can do is I can actually save this layout, in other words, Workspace, by going to Window, Workspace, and choosing New Workspace. So I'll give a name to this. I'll call this as Reese Workspace. Work, SPACE. Okay, and I can actually go ahead and click Save. So if someone else is working in my computer and they change it to, let's say, Motion or something else, I can always go back to Window, Workspace, and choose Please Workspace. So it comes back to the workspace that I like the most. We can also access this quickly by going up here and clicking on this one. I can go back to Essentials. I can go back to Graphics and Web. I can go to Photography, whatever I like. So that's our user interface in Photoshop. Now let's create a new document and see what kind of properties we have there to modify to create the document that we wanted. Let me go to File, choose New, and then we are greeted with this beautiful window which gives us a lot of options in terms of creating the document that we wanted. First, it shows us a few recently used presets. If you want, you can actually pick from there, or we can go to these other windows to find different kind of presets. So let me go to Photo. Here you will see that we have landscape 3x2 or 2x3 or 4x6, 5x7, and all these different settings. So depending on which one you prefer, you can actually choose that. In my case, I'm going to go to the print version, and there we have something like A4. Okay, so let me click on A4 here, and once I do that, I will notice that all these values changed, and you will actually see that if I go ahead and choose other options, it basically changes these values. Right now, these are basically the width and height of the document, and we can actually change which units we want to use. So if I go ahead and choose here, by default it has millimeters, I can change it as pixels, and now it will show me the pixel count of what is the width and what is the height. Okay, I can change the orientation from landscape to portrait, portrait to landscape, and you will notice that basically they swap the number of pixels there. Or if I want, I can also choose inches, so it will basically show me in inches. I can change it as centimeters if I want, and so on and so forth. The next thing that we have is our resolution. Resolution basically decides how much quality we want to have in the picture. Okay, and it's basically referred to as pixels per inch. So in 1 square inch, how many pixels you want to have in that document. Now keep in mind, the higher that you give, the more quality you will have, but at the same time, the file size will also be bigger. Okay, so depending on the kind of requirement that you have, you need to choose different resolution. If you're using for print, then probably you need the highest possible, which is 300. Okay, so the more resolution you give, the print will have good quality. If you're using for website, then you can keep it somewhere between plus or minus 100. So from 72 to 125, 150, that should be a good range if you want to use it for web or mobile applications or any other screen-based designs. Okay, so next thing that we have is color mode. Okay, now there are different types of color modes like bitmap, grayscale, RGB, CMYK, and LAD color. Now we will be using mostly two of them. Okay, one is RGB and the other one is CMYK. Now to understand this quite simply, keep in mind anywhere you want to use an image for the screen, let's say be it a computer screen or a television screen or mobile phone, okay, then you have to stick to RGB, okay, because RGB is basically the color for screen, correct? And CMYK is the color for print. If it's going for print, then you have to use CMYK. Otherwise, you can choose RGB. If you want to know more in detail about color modes, I have added a link in the video description so you can go there and check that out. I'll try to make another video that explains completely what each of those different color modes are. So for us, let's keep it at CMYK because we're going to use it for printing. And then we can choose a background color So be it white or any other color, let's keep it at white. And color profiles, we can leave them as they are. Let's click create, and that basically creates the first document for us. So this is in landscape mode. Let's keep it as it is. That fills up more of that screen that we have. Okay, and let me just change the workspace to my liking. That is perfect. So that's how we create a blank new document in Photoshop. So this completes this video. In the next video, I'll show you how to create simple shapes in Photoshop. So if you have any questions, you can write them in the comment section below. I'll be most happy to answer your questions. See you in the next video. Have a nice day.